It is January 9th, 2019. We are the Advisory Committee on Sustainability. It is 12:30 p.m. We are calling the meeting to order in room 206 of Town Hall. It should be noted for roll call that Craig Flaherty, Terry Gaffney, and Christine Lajournet are the regularly sitting members, which is not a quorum. We expect Carolyn to be here shortly to make a quorum. And we're not 100% sure if Kathy is fully and officially signed up yet, although we expect that to happen imminently. You've got everybody else's name. We also have Mr. Voorhees, who is a member of the public per se, very interested in our efforts. And he's going to take a look at what we're doing today, and maybe we'll inspire him to get excited to help us out. Approved past minutes is the first item on the agenda. Thank you, Terry, for sending these around.
Keep in mind we can't vote on them yet.
Oh, we can't vote on them yet. Any comments on them yet? All right, so we'll table the vote on that. Thank you for the reminder. Item 2A is Carolyn, typically, so we'll move past that, other than to note that in 2018, the fourth quarter, we recycled 6 tons of food scraps through the food scrap recycling program. Any comments on your end about management process?
Seems to be going right now pretty smooth.
Pretty smooth. Item 2B, trying to verify the what's in, what's out list.
Can I have a copy of the agenda, please?
Yeah, get our collateral up to date. I think you got a proposal from Sophie, and you greenlighted her today to make the updated that's needed to the brochure and map.
Correct.
So that's a good part. We need to get that information out quickly. People are confused by the revisions to single stream, which no longer can take the flexible plastic films in bags. Item 2C is usually Dan. I'm going to skip over that unless you have any concerns about item 2C, swap shop. Anything to report quickly on schools? Okay.
By the way,
Yes, sir.
on the swap shop, I stopped in and see Dan down there, and he made a comment that the people who are coming to drop off are doing a remarkable job of actually placing things
Yes,
where
they're
they
more
belong,
engaged.
as opposed to just dropping them in the front. So there's been a lot more active community involvement in placing things. So it
It's
seems
a little easier with a little more space and
Yeah.
everything kind of,
Yeah.
There's still some reported tension between those that feel some of the frequent volunteers are moving things too quickly and not providing opportunity for others. And so Dan's been managing that, having conversations both with the volunteers and the folks making those observations. But again, from our standpoint, as long as everybody's getting along, this is about reducing waste.
Right.
So whomever wants it and has another purpose for it can still purpose. Keeping sense of fairness and good publicity and good success of the swap shop in mind. Item number 3, Energy Task Force, quick updates. Where are we on our solar PV system installations, and when are we going to schedule our huge PR ribbon cutting?
Can't turn it on until they're all in place and ready to go.
You need all 3 of them before you can turn any one of them on?
That was a requirement from the Green Bank.
it's all under the same
Contract.
financing.
Yep. They're about 75% done with the installation of the panels on the roof here. The other two buildings have been completed already.
Okay.
They're ready to go.
Okay,
I think maybe, other than maybe a meter at the DPW garage, but that's in the process.
Refresh me, garage and what other?
police department,
Police department.
DPW garage, town hall.
Okay.
So we're just working out the final details for the switching,
Okay,
disconnects and things like that.
so do we think we want,
I'm hoping by February 1st, we're ready to turn everything on.
okay, so we should start, I'll work with Carolyn, we'll start and Jamie to think about the logistics of a public announcement and invitation of press and notables to
Just thinking maybe a photo op with the three of
Yeah.
you up on the roof.
you
standing
know I
on the
want that.
Panels.
You know I want that.
It's all, a little ribbon cutting for you guys. 'cause
You know I want that.
No one else is getting up on the roof.
Okay, you can do, that can be the photo that
We
we
string some
submit.
Christmas lights up there maybe, so they can,
Exactly, we need something to
So-
turn it on.
So be careful with the ribbon
Okay.
cutting, I guess, is.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna
More
follow
than
up on
happy to
that.
support it, but I have to be actually cognizant of where you do it. so.
Yes, understood. You are responsible for our safety. We are responsible for our safety. You are responsible for the liability of the town. This is essentially saying the
Almost
same
sounds the
thing.
same.
Yeah. Any update on consultants looking at the police station? You were getting proposals in.
I got approval from the Board of Selectmen on Monday for the funds,
Mhm.
to hire the consultant.
Okay.
And I go to the Board of Finance next Tuesday,
Okay.
and hopefully with their approval, I can move forward and engage the consultant. I have their contract already.
Great.
And we'll start that process. That's a 3 to 4 month process.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to
I present
the
them all.
bulk of our agenda today. We've left at least an hour or so to talk about sustainable CT. In a moment, Kathy's going to give us an introduction because she's been to several seminars and webinars and talked to many people, and she is going to be our Sherpa on, on this, our guide. Well, we need a title for you. You can think of your own title. But I also want to point out, when we get to the list, if we spend 10 minutes talking about each line item, we will be here until midnight. So we really need to focus on first achievable, and really what we're going to do today is just assign who's going to be the lead to look at it, who our partner's going to be, and we'll define a time frame to report back by email or by phone to the team. Kathy.
So I had the opportunity to attend a seminar, full, like a 4-hour seminar with the director and a number of partner towns that have already received their certification, that presented their stories and how they got there. And with that was a lot of advice on what to do if you're starting up. And the summary of that situation was that most of the presenters were actually people that were employed by the town. However, every town does it differently. Fairfield has a green group that's really leading. In Glastonbury, it was an employee. And everybody that did it was extremely enthusiastic. The feedback, first off, is that the process of the certification is done by professionals that will read all the documentation that we provide or that anyone provides, and it must be quite detailed. And so a lot of the conversation is how to get your materials and documentation in the right format and to the right level of detail in order for the judges, if you will, the experts, to actually approve what you've done. So this is a good roadmap for it, but it takes time. It's got to be PDFs. It's got to be this. You have to have copies of websites. You have to have bills, whatever it might be. There's a lot of background that's going to go in with each of
You
these
can't just say,
actions.
oh yeah, we did that.
We did it. That is not what
Gotta give 'em
that's
proof.
not what works. Some towns, I mentioned this to you. Some towns took an approach year one to just present to all departments in a community and local organizations, whether it's one-on-one or often in a breakfast meeting or selectmen's meeting or something, what this was, so that people could begin to think and figure out in their own areas of expertise where they were working on things like that. And then other towns just dug in, sort of the approach I think we will be taking, which is to find the things that are already being worked on and document them and go from there. I do recommend that there be a broader discussion with some of the key players in the community, so that when we're coming and asking them, they know, or they may know things that we don't even know about that they're doing. Maybe
So we
a
might
Human Services
choose,
Department,
for instance, to make February our February meeting hey, everybody, this is what we're doing. Come to town hall at 12:30. Tell us what you're doing.
yeah, or yes, or show.
Just
there's
explain the program.
And they have pulled together some very simple. This whole thing is your spreadsheet on one page.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that you can see what they are, and if you're Health and Human Services, you may be doing something
Yeah.
that you're working on. I'll give you a great example that they used, which was support local businesses, and it was support grow local. And then they used the thing that's called Optimize for Equity, which is a way that you analyze one of your activities to see that they're meeting all of your constituents in your community. And so in going through that, they got different groups of people together with Health and Human Services, and the people who do grow local and the farmers, and they figured out that there were some constituencies that couldn't get to the farm stands when they're open, or didn't have transportation. And so they worked on a program to have a pop-up farmers market. They worked on a senior bus, so they were able to do things that then made the program work for everyone.
So that's
that required
action
teamwork.
item 9.1.
That's 9.1, but
which
it
says, just so I can get everyone up to speed, which says basically, not only do you have to do the sustainable actions, but you have to go back and pick one to show and prove that sustainable action is equitable for everyone across
your community. And that was one that was presented, there are a couple of those in the food, but they make, it makes a lot of sense to tell a story that there may be people, there will be people, the people promoting Grow Local might not be talking to the people that have a senior van, or that could talk to their farmer's market and have a special day or a special location at a housing community where people typically don't have transportation. So there's a lot of communication that goes on.
And that, I mean, the whole framework of sustainable CT is to create communication between municipalities
Exactly.
on how everybody's doing what they're doing. But you've got to bring that all the way down, and we've got to create those communication networks
Within our own
community. So the dialogue around taking sustainable actions is enhanced.
And that's why they're broad and they do overlap.
Yep.
Technical details,
Before you go on, for those who may be listening, I think it's worth restating what Chairman Flaherty said 3 minutes ago. If you are a citizen who has an involvement in any organization, or just an individual citizen who has interest in furthering this concept of sustainability within our town, our next meeting is on the second Wednesday of February at 12:30. There's lots of chairs here, so please feel free to join us.
even more so, the website Sustainable CT provides a wealth of information that anyone interested as sustainability talks about thriving economies, it talks about natural resources, it talks about health and human services, environmental protections, and many people in our community work within those different scopes. So I will pass around anyone who wants to look now. These are some of the success stories, or these are, for us even, they're examples of how people defined an action. But what I want to do is get a couple of the details about dates and grants and interns or fellows that I think we need to know up front, because those will move quickly, maybe before our next meeting.
Okay.
The pre-application review May 2nd is highly recommended, because if you wait till August 30, half of your stuff will be bounced back. It's guaranteed. I say that with a little bit of facetiousness.
Yeah.
We're going to be very good and hand it in right properly. There is a program of municipal grants which will be announced very shortly. It's a Sustainable CT Accelerated Grant Program, and those grants are available to anyone that is registered as a Sustainable CT community, and you can be certified or not certified, and the grants will provide funding towards an action. And as it was described by the executive director Monday night, they're meant to very easily help a community and their partners move forward on an action. So I'm envisioning something that might be like the bee pollinator pathway that's trying to get off the ground, that are doing something. If that was an action step, the grant money doesn't necessarily have to go directly to the town. it could go to a partner, but the partnership has to include both the town and the organization. The town may be
It's
advertising.
partner,
an
not
event.
just you do it.
It's not
So-
you do it or you do it.
So where does this grant money emanate from?
The Sustainable CT, which is an independently funded organization, and they will be, Sustainable CT will be providing grant funds to registered communities that apply for them towards types of actions, and the grants have not been announced. They're about to be announced any day, that we were told that Monday night.
And are those grant monies coming from public funds that may be in jeopardy
It's-
with the new budget?
No,
or
these
is
are,
it?
no,
Independently
Sustainable
funded. This is not state
CT
money.
is funded by, it's funding partners of the Tremaine Foundation, Hampshire Foundation, and Common Sense Fund.
Okay.
Among other organizations. That Sustainable CT, and this is on the bro, is an independently funded grassroots organization. This is not a state-run organization. And they house it out of one of the University of Eastern Connecticut, I believe, or one of and the School of Environmental Research or Resources was the original hub of this program being started. There are up over 70 communities, I think, that are registered and 22 that are certified, and more coming on board every day. As far as, let me go through it. As far as fellows, I mentioned that last time. There were 12 fellows last summer.
I can't write as fast as you can talk.
Okay,
Take a
I
breath.
talk fast. Okay. There will be fellowships. There were 12 fellows last year. There will be at least 12 this year. They are paid positions. The people that do the fellowships must be in college in the state of Connecticut or live in the state of Connecticut going to college out of town. And they are housed somewhere in a central location in the state. And their work is to work with communities on implementing their actions or submitting their applications. So again, those people aren't hired yet, and it's a summer position, but there are resources. They would do things like convert your files, research your historical information, find facts you might not even know existed that are documentation to an act you've already completed, or they can talk to the people at Sustainable CT.
And we would have to be registered, I'm assuming?
We are
to-
registered already.
Okay.
The town's resolution has us registered. Darien is a registered Sustainable.
So we don't have to be certified, we only have to be registered?
Correct.
Okay.
And so these will come on if we choose to ask for a grant, if there's a reason for a grant or a fellow, we will have to indicate that in writing to Sustainable CT. And the news of those will be coming out soon. So that's to be watching. That comes out through the hub and it comes out through their mailing lists. And let me see. The partners, Fairfield uses a lot of partners. In one community, it might have been, wasn't Brookfield, the head of Department of Public Works took this on himself and basically did the entire thing and spent actually 3 or 4 or 5 months with this and made it happen.
You have plenty of time on your
He's
hands.
now got
eh?
a new job of Department of Everything, I think. He was a great young guy. He said he had no idea what he was doing. So, different towns are going to do it differently, but the answer was your partners. It's important to have partners outside of the town structure itself, but if the Y does something and the town is not somehow partnering, whether that's advertising it on a website or hosting a session at
So
town hall.
we have to support in some fashion and provide
an
evidence
event.
of that support.
Provide evidence of that support. Okay, your certification, which we're not even there yet. Once you get it, it lasts for 3 years. And if you're bronze, you can continue to work towards silver, and it just keeps going. And as you see on this sheet, when we're looking at activities we've already done, the look-back period is identified as to how far back you can go through your records in order to present an activity like solar
Yes.
panels as being.
Well, streetlights, for example, was like
Solar panels.
5 years, and so we can do it
Yes.
again.
I think that's pretty much the only one other thing there is. So there are partners that are providing services. I don't know if there's an interest, but the Nature Conservancy is working with the Sustainable CT, and they will provide to the town people a half-day workshop called Assess Climate Vulnerability, and they will come in with maps and
Oh, cool.
people, and it's free of charge.
Credit.
And it would count towards points, but you have to just put in writing, I would like to set up a
Yeah.
climate vulnerability workshop, and I will have the
Yeah.
stewards of the town
But make
participate in
sure,
that kind of
we
thing.
would want the library and the nature center and,
Yeah, and it could be
Land Trust
environmental
all
EPC commission, or
co-sponsor
it could be, or
and-
whatever it would be,
Make one.
however that would be.
Yeah.
It just could be employees of the town, or it could be a broader, there's no
Yep.
requirement. But that is available now, if a town wants to present something, wants to provide that.
So we can talk
kind of
about that
service.
as we go
Yep,
through.
as a thing. So there are many of those, but that was one that was just described to us Monday night.
Is it appropriate for the schools to get involved in something like that, since it's so education oriented? I
think that it's more the Nature Conservancy is going to come in and do more of a study of your
Yeah.
community and look at your maps
see.
and your tidal, your tides and your flooding
They're gonna run a
plans.
seminar.
They're going to put on a seminar on accessing climate vulnerability in Darien, not how to assess climate vulnerability. It's about your community with your town people. And I think someone's going to attend the Zero Waste Fair no, that's later on. There's the recycling fair next week, which itself is not a sustainable CT, but if we attend it and we make.
Darren's going to something.
That's it.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I registered for it also.
Yeah.
Are you going?
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think that may be those kinds of things may also count for points if we
Great.
somehow incorporate
Training,
it.
town staff.
Training,
Theirs
yeah.
was in here somewhere.
Yes. So that should pretty much give you the
Yeah.
pages and pages and pages of hours of notes that I've
Yeah,
learned
so
from.
in summary, you are already a wealth of knowledge beyond everybody else here relative to what is expected out of this program and what we can get out of this program. And are we ready to transition?
We are ready
Did you
to
have a question before I
it is a
transition?
team,
Okay.
it is a
Okay.
team effort that we can
So,
transition into what are we doing here in Darien?
Yeah, the goal again is to go through this as focused and targeted as possible and define who's going to follow up on each item. So looking at the Sustainable CT Master List, item 1.1 has to do with supporting the redevelopment of brownfield sites. I don't know if this is a good category for us. I don't even know if we have brownfield sites in Darien, but I will work with Jeremy to figure it out, to see if we do have brownfield sites and whether or not they've been redeveloped. The one that came to mind was the self-storage facility. I always thought that was a dirty site. I don't know how dirty it was, or if it was brownfield.
Another one was the school on Edgerton.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, because of the
old
asbestos?
elementary school, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Okay. So I
And,
will,
I mean, I don't know how much they parse it, but what was the old boathouse and the redevelopment at Wheat Beach?
That building's gone.
So in-
There are some,
But what
I
rises to
suspect there are
preference?
some
So-
several hidden, but I don't know how
yeah.
big
So
it would be.
let me first say, I doubt this is an opportune category for us,
Right.
but I will look into it
Right.
with Jeremy and with the DEP. Maybe, Rich, you can take us back to Jeremy if he's got any resources we should look at to make this determination, and we'll go from there. 1.2, implement sustainable purchasing. I don't see us doing that in the next 3 months. I think it's a great item to consider moving out into the future. That certainly would require people like Ed and Mike Lynch and Kate Bush to be involved with something like this. So right now, I'm kind of going to write pass, unless I hear otherwise. This next section, 1.3 and 1.4. 1.3 is inventory and promote local retail options, and 1.4 is provide resources and support to local businesses. I would like to see if there's someone willing to reach out to and work with the Chamber of Commerce to see what they might be doing in this regard and how they could be a partner.
I think I can take that on.
Okay.
I've done some work in retail in this town.
Okay. So I just have no idea. I mean, some of this stuff seems pretty simple, like
Like
an
asking
inventory, a list,
questions.
Right.
But, and a buy local campaign, I think they do have an ongoing buy local campaign. So some of this stuff looks certainly very achievable. And hopefully they're doing it, or they could easily modify how they're doing it so we can qualify for some of these points. Again, I think 1.5 is probably premature for us. Which has to do with promoting sustainable workforce development. 1.6, I think is an achievable goal, certainly under 1.6.3, earn credit for a CPACE, 1.6 is participate in and promote the CPACE program. This has to do with energy efficiency upgrades on a commercial scale. And I know under 1.6.3, for example, the Nielsen's office buildings, when they got the solar panels installed on their roofs, participated in the CPACE program. Don't think they did it through the Green Bank, but I will follow up with Jerry on that to see if on item 1.6.3 we might be able to get some credit. On the other two, 1.6.1 and 1.6.2, it requires some action by the town to adopt a resolution and to make some proactive encouragement of local building owners. Both are fairly low-hanging fruit, if not for the next 3 months, certainly for the next year. So I'll talk to Jamie about that.
Can you, just for those that are not familiar with what CPACE stands for?
Yeah, what does it stand for? What item are we on? 1.6?
No?
I do not know.
It is.
It keeps
So I was reading that too and going, I can't do that
It
because
was
I don't
referred to
know that.
repeatedly at the seminar, and I didn't ask. I
It's,
didn't raise my
let
hand.
me see
I
if
wonder
we
if
write it
Dan
out
would
in
be good
here.
for that, because he knows.
I've seen it spelled out before. It
I
has to do
have
with
to,
energy.
Yeah.
The Commercial Property Assessment Clean Energy.
Okay.
Yeah.
A real Navy acronym.
Commercial Property Assessment Clean Energy.
Okay, so it's non-town facility.
Yes,
Work
this
within the
is a
community.
commercial facility, and more in town may have done it. There are, well, I don't want to talk about it a lot, but
Right.
there are consultants out there that go in and assess a building and say, here's all the stuff you could do to be more efficient, and by the way, we're going to finance it through the Green Bank, so you're going to get new boilers financed, which you'll be able to pay off with all the energy savings you're going to get. That's basic,
Yep.
the basic concept.
Okay. And in order in all of one, you must complete one of these actions for certification. Obviously, the more that you complete, the more points you
Yes.
get. So the way this works,
Yes, so we
sustainability
have
is,
really the only thing that, well, the chamber, we might be able to get some points, and then the CPACE thing, we might be able to get some points. But that was it for number one right now, most likely.
possibly,
Yeah.
1.3, 1.4, 1.6
Yeah.
would seem to be the most likely.
Yes, exactly. So good progress.
Well, and also the brownfields, if in fact,
I'm saying that's a low possibility, so I'm not going to create it in my.
okay.
We're going to look into it, but I'm not counting.
Okay.
Item number 2 has to do with well-stewarded land and natural resources. The first one, and maybe Rich, you have a little bit of a pulse of some of this stuff. 2.1 is provide watershed education. Do we know if we or any entities in town are doing things like this?
Program to educate about watersheds.
Yeah, 2.1 says
specifically,
sponsor or host a program to educate citizens and
The
business
answer to your
owners.
question is yes.
Yes.
Friends of Gorham Pond,
Gorham's Pond.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
So within the last 12 months?
yes.
Yes.
Believe it or not, there's a really great woman that is, I'm trying to think of the water company that was.
Aquarium.
Aquarium.
Aquarium. There's a woman there that does a fantastic job, and she does a whole presentation. Have you seen it?
No.
Okay. She's phenomenal.
Okay.
And she's like, she works with the PR department there to get into the schools.
Okay. So on item 2.1, who wants to follow up with the Friends of Gorham Pond or Aquarian Water Company to see if they are actively doing these sorts of things, how we can partner with them as the town, and see if we can garner some of these points. You're going to follow up on that,
Okay.
Laura?
Yeah. I
And
spoke-
do you know who the head of the
Lucia
Friends?
Zakowski.
Oh, Lucia is at Friends of Gorham's Pond now? Okay. And you know her? Okay, great.
Just
Yep.
the event, You could still be working on completing it by the end of August, so
Okay.
if, in fact, you're working on it and you're submitting in May 2nd.
So we don't have to complete it by May 2nd?
As I understood some of the conversation,
Yeah.
if your preliminary may not be 100% complete or may be in progress.
We'll just say, we're intending to do this and provide you with this.
These are
or
the
something.
dates, I have a seminar, or
Yeah.
I haven't done, whatever it might be. So
Okay.
just keeping
That's good
a
knowledge.
little bit, not to delay, but.
Is to get someone to do a watershed presentation to.
I would say, yeah, so
Well-
so sponsor, so what you should, so the goal
Mhm.
is to get points. So if you go on to Sustainable CT, I don't have another
I've already
copy.
looked- I've already
Yeah,
looked at it. I
so,
just want to print it out.
yeah, so you can dive into exactly what's needed to get those points.
Mhm.
So the goal is to get the points.
Okay.
So if
Yeah.
it means
All right.
someone going to the library and hosting an event that we broadcast through the EPC and other Board of Selectmen and other municipal channels, then that's what the goal is.
Okay.
And they may have already done the watershed management plan, because they did that whole thing on Gordon's Pond, so tap into this list and see what they've done.
There's, the land trust, I know they've done some work with the fisheries,
Well, that had to
Who
do,
was-
was not the eel.
What organization did the fish ladders? Was
Fish
that?
Fish ladders.
land, that was,
That was
Friends of
Darren Land Trust over, the one by.
That was,
Howard
that
Pond.
was the one on
Yeah.
Stony Brook, but the one at Gorham's Pond was part of the dam dredging and reconstruction.
there's one on the Roden River, too, a ladder, a fish ladder.
Yes, that was,
I know.
There's also the green team meetings
Yeah.
coming up, the
Yeah.
quarterly meeting. on
That had to come
Well,
on the
River was
side,
land
right?
trust.
The two fish ladders on Gorham's Pond?
Be there,
Yeah.
so I could certainly.
So
but
who
there's
were
like,
the
you know, all of the green.
Kathy,
Private
are you
entities
available on
that
January
were-
14th?
working with you?
Yeah, it's in the morning.
Yeah,
What day is
usually.
that? Monday,
The second one, I don't know who did the first one.
Monday morning, 9 o'clock.
But the funding was too steep.
Because
I can.
Right.
That's
Now, when you say the first or the second, is it about the lower or the upper?
Lower
I mean,
one,
if
closer
you-
to
if there's
the
anything
Island
you
Sound
want
is
me
the
to,
first one.
We'll talk afterwards.
Yeah,
Second
and
one.
you
Right,
can-
the one on the Norotan River, Chris
Yeah.
Filbert from the land.
Yeah, so that was the land trust that headed up the one on the Roden River. So, but these are very specific things. So
Within 12
there's-
months.
Yeah, and then was the municipality a partner on it too? I think that's what you were saying is an important piece of it.
Ed said yes on the fish ladder on Gorham's Pond.
Okay, okay. And it's because there's this other, if it doesn't fit
That you
into,
were
The
part
municipality.
of the
yeah,
process.
we need to be a partner, I guess, in some
And the
way.
one on Gorham's Pond would.
That counts.
Would count.
That would count.
And it may be so much as it's been listed on your website or been mentioned in a calendar or someone's
Yeah.
attended an
Or-
event.
Yeah, okay.
Is it our job also to educate the community? Or, like,
As
when
you go
see
through
the
this,
points?
you will see that, in my mind, many of these action items, the benefit is that we're constantly talking about these things.
Okay.
So it is a byproduct of taking the actions.
Okay.
And I would agree, over a period of 12 to 18 months to 2 years, my vision would be that this is presented to green teams and chamber, and that they're the source of this stuff coming in. I think we're trying to work on a 3 to 4 month first cut to give
Yes.
back to Sustainable CT what we've done with the
What about the work done on the Roden Heights redevelopment project? Isn't there a lot of watershed drainage involved in that?
I did the watershed study, I did that watershed study. I don't think that's what they're talking about. They're talking about, did you analyze the entire Stony Brook watershed, its impacts on the quality of water in the river and the health of biology and the stormwater runoff, and what are your strategies to improve that, or what are some of the things that are causing negatives to that? So I think it's a broader picture when they talk about watershed management plan. And we did a lot of work on that, but it was more than 10 years. Well, that's interesting. That's something that maybe we should look at. So, okay, so 2.1 was provide watershed education. Laura's going to look at those points specifically and talk to some possible partners between the Friends of Gorham's Pond and the Aquarian Water Company. 2.2 is create a watershed management plan. I don't know that we've done that, Rich. Certainly, less than 10 years ago, we did very detailed studies
Right.
of at least 3 out of 5 of our major watersheds. I don't know that that ever turned into a watershed management plan. So, I don't know, maybe you can just look at these categories on the website a little bit more in depth to see if you think we could qualify or it's something we would consider in the future, but I don't see it as a possible target right now.
Watershed protection is, like you said, more broad.
Yeah.
There was a flood damage prevention study that was.
Yes.
that was done.
And so that's moving on to 2.3, engage in watershed protection and restoration, complete an action plan project. I'd have to look at these a little bit more in depth. Maybe, would you be willing to at least look at the requirements of this, Rich, and see if you think it's something we...
Is that on the website?
Yeah, if you go to the website, you can drill right down here. I'll show you.
I can just Google it. It's-
Oh, yeah. Sustainable CT, you get right there. If you go to the action items, you can drill down, you just keep drilling down, so like you get to 2.2, create a watershed management plan, or engage in watershed protection, rather.
That
Click on that.
2.2.2 looks like a whole lot of work to me.
2.2 is, yeah, but 2.3 I'm on right now, engage in a protection action.
Oh, okay.
So at least you go in here, it says what to do, how you earn points, here's some of the things, you know. So you can at least get back to us to see if we could possibly qualify now or in the future. 2.4, develop an open space plan. I think 2.4.1 was done when we adopted the POCD. So I will look at our POCD and work with our land use department on that. But I think we can get 2.4.1. I don't think we went
POCD?
Plan of Conservation and Development.
Well, we're talking
Is that the
twos.
10-year
I'm
plan?
gonna pass
Yes.
around two things that got certified, 2 actions that got certified by 2 towns in
Okay.
these areas.
And
Just want
2.4.
to read them
Okay.
real quick. They're 2 different ones.
So the 2.4.1 is create an open space inventory, which I think is done in our POCD. 2.4.2 says then actually spell out your priority areas for protection. I don't know if it does that. I don't think it does that because
No.
they always try to shy away from that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then,
But I do think it's inventoried.
yeah. So we might be able to get some of that. So I'll take the lead on that. 2.5, Rich, I don't think we've done anything like this, which is create a natural resource and wildlife inventory. Yeah.
Do you think that the Darien Nature Center has worked on anything of that nature in anybody's experience with them?
For which one?
Create a natural
2.5.
resources and wildlife inventory.
Maybe of,
If anyone
yeah.
is.
There's, maybe with birds, there's that person on the green team who, we might have something on that.
And also, what about the deer management? There's a couple
Mhm.
that manage the deer.
well, they're trying, yeah.
Well, no, well,
So, yeah, this is develop a natural resource and wildlife inventory. Inventories may be completed regionally or with help from local partners. At a minimum, all inventories submitted shall include information mapping utilizing existing resources. Detailed wildlife inventories are not required but encouraged.
because
So,
they know the deer population, and they're encouraging that using.
They're trying to
So-
make the hunting list, right?
yeah, so, okay, so what I'm hearing is maybe we should ask the Nature Center if they've done anything like this, are considering doing anything like this, or know of anyone who's done anything like this. Who wants to take,
I'll do that.
okay, Christine is going to understand 2.5 and talk to the Nature Center. 2.6, manage for drought and municipal water use, I think is an interesting one. We certainly had a drought 2 years ago,
Yep.
and we had to do a lot of things during that drought. But I wonder if there is anything that we did officially. So,
There was the card that went out. Remember the postcard?
no, I
From
don't remember
Jane?
anything. So maybe,
But I think that was possibly in response to Aquarian's
Yes.
request.
Yes, it was.
So-
Yeah.
well, no, the first one, Ed, I think you would know about this because I think it says you actually have a formal or informal policy that when you replace toilets, urinals, faucets, and shower heads, that you do so with WaterSense labels. You would know if you're doing that or not, I would assume.
Okay.
Well, don't forget, most of the situations here, for better and/or worse, it falls under Board of Education or Parks and Rec, not under
Yes.
DPW.
Well, yeah. Ed does manage this building and the garage and a couple of other buildings.
Right. But most of it, we have a new school coming up, we have new construction coming up at the beach. So.
Yeah, but this is not just, you're gonna do it in the new building, this is like, if we ever have to replace a toilet, we're gonna make sure it's a WaterSense toilet. Or we're gonna just go replace everything, because it's a good thing to do. So, but your question is, I should ask Michael Lynch about it.
I think this is something that the town should be doing, but this is, in my opinion, looks like a very large boulder getting pushed uphill. I don't think it's going to be quick and easy.
On 2.6.1, but
Yeah.
2.6.2 is interesting because it's develop a drought communications plan to inform residents about voluntary and mandatory drought restrictions.
That sounds a lot easier.
And I'm going to talk to Jamie on that one.
And I even know the stuff that Aquarian did with the alternate days of.
Yeah.
It's extremely effective.
Yeah, and Jamie was doing the robocalls on that.
And,
Res.
yeah, and then when
Yeah.
you could water
Yeah.
and not, so
So I'll talk to see what she did 3 years prior to application.
Right. You need to be able to show the links on your website.
And it would be interesting if we have a drought restriction ordinance, or
So
were we
just
forced to do it 2 or 3 years ago?
Looking over at that.
I don't,
Looking over at that third box, a copy of your drought communication plan. I don't know if it's the state or Aquarian or whoever officially manages the reservoir up on the border of Stanford and New Canaan. But it's been raining so much, they've had those floodgates open, releasing
Well,
water.
yeah, it's rainy this year. It was the second rainiest year, so
So-
it's a weird year to
but I'm
talk
looking-
about it, but within 3 years, we had a drought.
Yeah.
Right.
And we did
No,
communications.
but what
yeah.
I'm looking at specifically, develop a communication plan, perhaps something that once a quarter, the town publishes here's where the reservoirs are, this is what the forecast is, so that there's a plan, just communicating to the town
So
where we are.
there could be something that, this is our plan when there's a drought.
Right.
It's not a drought right now, it might not be a drought for years, but when there's a drought, here's our
Right.
plan. That's all we have to do, right? It's not like we have to talk to people about droughts now. But I'll see what Jamie has on that, on 2.6.2, and any information that we can compile from. Now, this is interesting, though, Kathy, when an item like this between 2.6.1 and 2.6.2 seems to share points, are these individual actions, or do they have to be taken together?
I don't know.
Okay, that's a question for you.
Yeah, and it might be info@sustainableCT.
Okay.
I've been told that the people that work for them will become our best friends and
Okay.
know you by name
Okay.
very quickly.
I'm going to move on then to 2.7.
By the way, just to come back to what you just asked.
Yeah.
2.6.2 is a plan, 2.6.1 is an ordinance. That's the difference.
Yes.
It may be one or the other in that case.
as opposed to both,
I don't know.
I mean, I think we just have to, we don't know the answer at the table.
Right.
So-
So we're trying to identify who to ask to get the answer. So I'm going to start with Jamie to see what she knows, since she was involved when we had the drought 2 years ago.
And when it comes to the watershed education or water conservation, the Fairfield one talks about, among other efforts, the town has implemented a school watershed program where students monitor estuary health, test water quality indicators, and perform organism counts. The town educates community members about the value of watersheds. So there may be programs, again, through the schools or, in
As
partnership
partners.
with Sound Waters,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
some of these things are happening that would be considered
Okay. So this is, so the.
in the area of two broadly.
Too broadly. 2.7, provide education on water conservation. This has to do, again, with water conservation. Sponsor or host a water conservation education workshop that targets local businesses, residents in your community. 2.7.2, identify and disseminate water conservation education materials. So it's a fairly,
I actually will say that Darien Environmental Group is working with the elementary schools. And basically, I know my principal at homeschool is very interested in the next project. Like, she's very interested in water conservation. So we're going to be done with the two themed plastic awareness kind of, and I think she'll be very excited about that for next year.
okay.
So that's something that I think.
Yeah, again, I think it needs to be
Broader,
broader. It can't just be at a school.
like in the
Or-
newspaper.
or even at school.
Maybe a lecturer at the
You think we
library.
could, hold on, what does Kathy have to say?
I think, for example, when someone hosted a pop-up farmer's market, that wasn't every single week across the whole town.
Yeah.
That was an event, meeting
Yeah.
a need.
Yeah.
So I think the thing.
So any action
I think the
in this-
actions,
in this
as long as
direction.
they're moving in that direction and could be used as a prototype or could be shared.
Okay.
Would count, although you'd have to run that
Okay.
by.
Okay.
And
That's what the
usually-
Sustainable CT staff is there to answer those
Usually the
questions.
theme for the year, I try to get media, which I successfully did for all schools, and get all school involvement, and try
So-
to do something for parents at the library.
Well, Laura, you're going to talk to Aquarian on 2.1. I'm wondering if they're going to do a workshop on watershed education, they probably could add water conservation
I
to
will
it.
tell you that the schools are very resistant. I put.
No, I'm saying,
Yeah.
if Aquarian is going to go to the library and give a workshop on watershed education,
Right.
they could
Okay.
add
Yes.
water conservation to that.
Yep.
That's probably in their wheelhouse too, I assume.
Definitely.
So you might broaden the conversation when you are talking to them. So I'm going to put Laura Aquarian on that one.
2.7.
Yep. Low impact development, I read through these. I don't think this is a good target for us. Rich, I don't know if you've got any thoughts or you want to read that a little closer and then give me your thoughts. The stormwater reg, which does mention LID solutions, was established prior to 2012. I think it was established in 2009. So I don't think we're going to get points under 2.8.
Exactly, what would you do? I mean, we already encourage.
Yeah, we already-
regulations and, I don't know, the regulations themselves encourage.
Well, so that's it. So, well, actually, when were the wetlands regs readopted, or the new ones?
2016?
Okay, so
Specifically talking about water impact development.
they don't specifically talk about it.
No.
Yeah, okay.
But as you go down 2.8 and you get into 2.8.1, they're all numbered differently. The second, stormwater management, what's in your plan of conservation development, where's your, after 2012, and again, that's where what I heard was that sometimes the fellows and the people that were digging through could find
Yeah,
actions
Stuff
that
is-
met
Yeah, the
this.
plan of
yeah,
conservation development.
Right.
it's online too, and I can send you links to that.
Yeah,
We're going to
I
use
got the
that,
thing
we're going to
with
use
the
that later.
What else can you do to encourage?
I guess what I would, if you would be willing to at least, again, on the website, kind of read a little more in detail under 2.8, just to see if you think there's a way to get these points, or if there's a place we should look. Would you be willing to do that?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm going to move on to 2.9. Again, I don't think 2.9 is a good category for us. We don't have a lot of open forest land that we're managing here in Darien. So,
Do we have a group that, in our, that manages Woodland Park or?
There's
any-
Friends of Woodland
Friends
Park
of
and
Woodland
Friends
So
of
that-
Selleck
Yeah.
Woods.
So
There's
those,
no forest.
I'm on
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah.
Woodland.
yeah, they're, I mean, to my experience from walking through the park very frequently, there's no forestry management going on there. You know, you
Any
need,
tree planting
you need
programs or
a, I don't, you know, you need a 15 acre or so tract, you need, we just don't have forests in Darien. I'm going to bypass this one. I don't think it's a low-hanging fruit for us. So 2.10 has to do with facilitate invasive species education and management. On this, I highlighted the two at the bottom, 2.10.1 and 2.10.2. which seem to be super low-hanging fruit, which is post invasive species education resources on your municipal website and provide links to sources outlining invasive species identification removal techniques, and then host or sponsor an educational workshop for residents about invasive species and removal processes. So that seems to be a pretty simple thing that's achievable. I kind of put Garden Club and Land Trust down as possible partners.
The Nature Center.
Or the Nature Center.
The Land Trust does a lot of invasive species control.
Okay.
So what you're saying is that they just need to make that more public?
Yeah,
Or we would have to.
we would
post
have
it
to
on our
part, so we have to post
website,
on find some place on the municipal website to,
I don't think that's a problem.
Do a
yeah.
workshop for residents.
I mean, you could do under EPC, you could have invasive
Yeah,
species
I mean,
management, click to that, have a few
It's
links.
posters in town hall or whatever it might be. There's also the tree conservancy, right?
Yes.
Downtown. That even going back to the woodlands, the
Yeah.
tree conservancy is planting trees and
Oh, yeah, actually, you're right.
so. I think-
Complete at least one activity, assessing tree cover, establishing a tree planting program.
Yeah, they just did 600 trees, remember that? Friday?
Tree conservancy. Okay, so on 2.9.2, who wants to
can do that.
contact, you're going to do
I
that?
can do that in 210.
Okay.
The bottom two.
Okay.
Highlighted.
So you're going to reach out to Tree Conservancy, and you're going to reach out to the Garden Club and DLT on invasive species management.
Because they'll be there.
Yes, I'm off that email list, so I haven't seen it.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 2.9, excellent, those are good targets. I'm going to bypass implement green grounds program for the short term. Seems like a great idea, but we're not going to educate all of our facilities managers to establish a green grounds program.
Going back to 2.10.
Yeah,
2.10.3 and 1 talks about removing on municipal property.
yeah, are we doing any of that?
Not that I know of, but
Yeah.
what is that involved? Just educating the Parks Department staff to look for these? Or I don't know, did we do it
I
on
know
the other
Jim-
town properties?
Jim does some work around the ponds and stuff out
That's what I
front.
mean, yeah, there's already
Yeah.
Phragmites removal.
So that
Question
is
to ask him.
educating municipal ground staff and actually having them do it.
Which kind of back to the, some towns, when I started by saying some towns have gone for the green glute and others are trying to go to the department heads and find out what they're doing.
Yeah.
And-
So,
and see as you go through this,
let's take
there's
60
two
seconds on
approaches.
this and talk about big picture strategy. I've focused on certification as a way to kickstart the conversation. But you're right, there could be a more collaborative approach where you get everybody in the room and you simply say, sustainability is now on the agenda. What is your department doing about it this year?
Are
Here,
you-
here are some of your targets.
Are you
know.
doing any of these things?
Yeah, yeah,
Which
yeah.
is really the question,
Yeah.
because they may and we don't know. Yeah,
So,
not to start new things. I'm not
who's
suggesting starting
who's
new
best
things.
to talk to, Pam or Jim, about 10.3 and 10.1, 2.10.3 and 2.10.1?
I guess, I could talk to them. What's
Okay.
the 10.1?
So some of these numbers get repeated.
I know,
It's a little
it's
weird.
confusing.
So I have, one is educate municipal grounds keeping staff on invasive species management
I
practices.
see that one.
And then the 2 cells below that,
Okay.
and actually engage in invasive species management practices on municipal properties.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Let me know what you find out, and what I do.
How involved does that have to be?
I don't know.
Again,
How much do you have to do?
I think if you were to go into, if you can dig down, any town that is certified, their profiles are there, and for this whole website.
So if they've
you
gotten
can-
points for this, you
so
can
for
see exactly how
yeah,
they got
So
points
the
for
Fairfield
this.
one that I read, the Fairfield one about watershed, for every single thing, their entire application is there. So you can drill down and you could go to 2 point something
Oh,
and
to see what they did, yeah.
what someone has done for any one of these, and it might give an idea. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the sharing. So
Yeah.
it's private when you upload it. Once it's certified, it's forward facing, and you can read anything that any town has submitted up to 20, whether it's certified. So I can't answer that, but that's kind of, anybody looking at a particular area should probably go in and look at Fairfield or Stamford or Greenwich or some of the others and see what they did, if any of them show any overlap.
So-
The bee pollinator pathway project would fall into that, in that they're trying to get people to remove invasive species, replace them with.
Oh, who's doing that? Is
I'm
that
going
the
to work
Nature
on
Center?
that because
Okay.
I'm going to go to, they have an event on the 23rd of January.
Yeah, Deepika.
It's Juliet Kane, it's Deepika, it's the Garden Center, it's the library, it's the Darien Nature
Yeah.
Center, and it's one other and the Garden Club. Garden Club, Nature Center, Garden Club, the library, and the Garden Center is hosting
The Garden
an event.
Center, right,
The
yeah.
business. So that's so if Darien participates in some way, shape, or form, that project is a classic example. They are trying to get any town to, any property to pledge not to use pesticides and to replace invasive plants with natural plants to support bee.
Okay,
and
so you're going to
butterfly.
follow
So
up with
I'm working
them
on that
and see
one,
how that might fold
that
into this.
I know
Okay.
that will fall
So
in.
let's, just as a time record for everybody, we've used half of our time and we're
Yep.
through 2 of 8 items.
Yeah,
So
I know.
moving along.
It's not going to be everything.
We're here
So-
till 2. Vibrant and creative cultural ecosystems. There's 2 main categories on this. One is map tourism and cultural assets. The second is support arts and creative culture. I think on the first one, map tourism and cultural assets, I don't even know where to start on this. Although
I can start on that one.
the last 2 seem easy, and my question
I
was.
can start on that one because between the Darien Historical Society and the town's Monuments and Ceremonies Commission,
Cultural assets.
we've already developed a
Fantastic.
whole lot of
So Terry is going to
information.
drill down on 3.1 and look for opportunities.
Right.
The only other thing was that if the realtors have stuff that they use, in terms of.
I think it would be worth it in speaking to the chamber, because
And-
kind of what they've
and
done
chamber.
earlier.
And by the way-
Chamber.
Well, half as an advertisement at the Monuments and Ceremonies Commission. Next year, Darien celebrates its 200th anniversary. So there is going to be a celebrate the
Wow.
bicentennial next year. A committee has been formed for it. And so a lot of the tourism and cultural assets.
And
this
historic is
tie
coming
hand in
down, coming
glove.
up.
So anybody listening, the 2020 Bicentennial Commission is looking for people to join
Wow.
us, so little ad there.
So I'm going to put you on 3.3 also, which is develop a creative placemaking plan, just for thoughts and ideas. But again, we're targeting certainly one action item in category 3, and then as many points as we
Right,
can.
on 3.2, which you're skipping over.
Well, I'm not skipping, I'm going back, but yeah.
Okay, all right,
So 3.2, I mean, to me, that just screams Arts Center.
right.
Who,
And library.
okay. Who wants to follow up with the library and/or the Arts Center?
I'll follow up at the library.
Kathy, were you just about to raise your hand?
I was going to talk, and we can maybe go in and talk together, because it, relative to the other thing and the pollinator thing, that I'm going to.
So you're gonna talk to them anyway?
the library anyways, but I'll talk to you.
And the library
specifically
is
about
gonna-
going in.
Alan Gray has already made a big commitment to the 2020,
Yeah.
and he's got Mallory involved now, so,
So if you have a specific person in the thing,
Yeah.
go for it.
yeah.
So who wants to, is there anybody here suited to talk to the Arts Center
I have a
about?
very good friend on the board of the Arts Center.
You want to initiate the conversation and see?
I can initiate the conversation, definitely.
Okay. And again, this is a little bit out of my wheelhouse, looking through these items in terms of what things that, again, we're not, what are they doing that might align? What are they doing or planning to do that might align with some of these action items, really is the first question.
I will ask her.
I also see that as being
3.4.
something that would work through the school system as well, which kind of leads to probably a broader meeting at some
Yep.
point with, whether it's through the superintendent's office or the principals or something.
Oh, you
because
mean
they're-
creating arts
there may be things that they're doing.
They do some phenomenal things.
Yeah.
Again, if we're sticking to
Yeah.
where's the low-hanging fruit, what's happening in these
Yeah,
organizations right now?
3.4.1, inventory what is currently offered in the school system and after school.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What types
So
of
I'll
art,
take that.
yeah, okay.
Which one is that?
3.4?
All right, so, and I'm sorry I'm having a blank on the woman's name who runs the art program at the high school, but
I know
all
who it is,
all their artwork will be
Samus,
here
Jacqueline
next
Samus.
month.
Jacqueline Samus, does that ring a bell? She oversees all the art for all the elementary, middle,
Could-
and high.
I don't remember who it is.
So-
I've reached out to her just to see if there's any art with recycling and see if she would partner. So she has like her finger on the pulse on what everything that's being done. It's not been in front of her.
Certainly anyone that knows anybody, go ahead, but kind of thinking maybe we should make an appointment and go in and sit with someone and
Yeah.
ask
Yeah.
for permission to speak to some of those people.
So you're going to look at 3.4
Yeah.
as it relates to this. So I'm going to move to item 4, dynamic and resilient planning. I think, and I'll work with Jeremy on this. We've done 4.1.1, which is review the POCD and adopt. Or revise that includes. Well, we certainly mention. Now, which one did I think we did?
He sent you
He did, I read the link.
references, and
And I think it is.
I don't know if they.
We certainly mention sustainability and resiliency in the POCD. I will look at it to see if I think we can qualify. So I will take 4.1. I don't think 4.2 is a good category. I don't think 4.3 is a good category. Just for the Channel 79, that is adapt permitting process to promote sustainable development is 4.2. 4.3 is develop agricultural friendly practices.
Community garden.
There are. Yeah, it really is. It seems beyond that. It seems. Oh, well, that's 4.3.9, develop and promote community garden spaces.
Yeah, we could do that, because we've already done that.
Proof of current status and all actions. That's, okay, so that's Parks Department. 4.
Beautification committee too?
Yes.
There is.
They'll be at the green team, yeah.
Certainly agricultural friendly practices. I think 4.3.9 with the Parks Department. Okay. That's Pam. I can send Pam an email.
What about 4.3.7, between the Darien Land Trust and the town's acquisition of the lease on Ox Ridge? Wouldn't that qualify for 4.3.7?
Oh, that was actually an agriculturally exempt piece of property for a horse farm. And we bought it.
Right.
We didn't buy it to maintain it as a horse farm.
Yeah.
I'm just looking
Interesting.
at establish
Question
an
mark.
open space
Ox Ridge.
farmland acquisition fund.
Yeah, I don't think we
don't have a fund.
don't have a fund, and we're never going to establish a fund.
But what about the Darien Land Trust for what, the open space that they've purchased? I mean,
Yeah.
Ann Mandel's
DLT.
house is being torn down today. And it's
DLT.
going to the land trust. I saw the wall get knocked down an hour.
All right, so
Ann Mandel's property on Hollow Tree, right at the split of Ox Ridge.
So fund, noting the dollar
Well, that's
amount
not-
available in the fund.
Yeah.
They don't do that.
I think there are other ways you're going to see that come through.
All right, so
Yeah.
that'll be for the next round.
It's a question, and we'll put DLT as a potential partner on that. Assess climate vulnerability, this was one you brought up.
Right, we could
Have-
indicate if we could get, I would
Nature
probably go
Conservancy.
through
Jamie.
for Jamie.
And the library.
If you're interested
Yeah.
in hosting a climate vulnerability
Okay.
workshop. I can find out what that would entail, what they require from us, if that's
All right, do you
a
want
first
to
step.
handle 4.4?
Yeah, I'll find out what they would need from us and see if we
Okay.
can propose it.
Okay.
I'm just looking at the first two items, point 1 and 2, talk about relative to climate change, which would indicate the sound. But neither one of them, one of our biggest threats for climate vulnerability is I-95 and the Merritt Parkway, and that has nothing to do with climate change.
Yeah, when they say climate vulnerability, they mean climate change. And
Oh.
climate change is beyond coastal sea level rise. In the northeast region of the United States, for instance, there's a prediction that there will be more rain in the future in larger events. Or in 2018. Take your pick. But you said there's,
I will find.
they focus this on the
On your
municipality.
community.
Yeah, so it sounds good.
And I will, and it would educate us on what one
Yeah.
community would do to assess its climate vulnerability.
Yeah.
And I will find out what they would need from the town in order to schedule that event, how
Yeah.
far out it would be, and then we'll see if someone would like to sponsor that
Good.
through the
Perfect.
town.
Moving on. 4.5, Terry, I think this is a good one in your bailiwick. Certainly,
Uh-huh.
I think 4.5.1 is something that should be done. We just have to understand how it's done and have we advertised it. There's some indication of historic sites in the POCD.
Yeah, there's a lot more going on, and there's a subcommittee on the Monuments and Ceremonies Commission, the Cemeteries Committee, where this group of unbelievably hardworking, dedicated people, both with muscle and money, have put into restoring a lot of our historic cemeteries in town.
You're right. Absolutely.
And so we've got some ready allies right there.
Awesome. So I think 4.5 is a good target for you, Terry. 4.6, streamline solar permitting for small solar installations. You know, I don't know that this is certainly something that could be done in terms of 4.6.1. You know, we could just have a memo that says, if you want a solar installation, this is how you do it.
It's the building department.
Yeah, oh, it's mostly building.
How many requests he gets?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how many requests they get.
You can certainly make this permitting process simple and transparent.
Yes.
You can identify zoning requirements,
Yeah. Certainly just spelling it out.
make a checklist.
Yes. So, okay. I'll look into that one a little bit, Jerry. Building.
Do we participate in what's under 4.6.1 or achieve at least bronze status in the National Soul Smart Community Designation Program?
Not to my knowledge.
4.6.
Way down.
These numbers were-
We're at
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna ask.
It's the 4.6.1 that is after 4.6.7
I don't know.
on the next page.
I'm pretty sure
Okay.
that would be decent.
So 5 is going to be a hard one, I think. Clean and diverse transportation systems and choices. Implement complete streets. Is 5.1. 5.2, maybe, promote effective parking management. 5.2.1, Ed, I'm starting to talk to you, conduct a parking needs assessment. Have we done some of this?
I thought Kate had done something like this already.
The work with the presentation to the selectmen on the Norotan Heights train station, which went through a whole lot of planning for parking and green solutions and bike pathways and bike blocks and on and on and on. There was a considerable amount of work that, that's the
The
town.
TOD study was just targeted around Northern Heights.
Right, and I don't think that all of these have to be town-wide. That's, again, where I think we gotta start somewhere on some of these.
The Corbin Street project with David Genevieve had a lot of parking issues that they studied.
David did do a downtown parking assessment, just kind of privately, but he shared it with the town. So that's an interesting question. He might have some information on that. So on 5.2.1, maybe we did some stuff associated with the train stations. And Ed, are you going to look into that?
Yeah.
And maybe David Genovese has an assessment he did for downtown that he'd be willing to share. So I guess if you could look at 5.2 in general, Ed, if you could look at 5.2 in general to see if those
So,
are things we do or
The
need to
needs
do.
assessment certainly for Norotan Heights is just been done. And that's certainly within 5 years prior to this
Mm-hmm.
application.
Encourage smart commuting. I don't know what we do on that front as a town. But it says basically you have to achieve Silver Oak Gold status with CT rides. I'm going to just assume that we're not very good at that, but that's my own personal assumption. 5.4 has to do with support zero emission vehicle deployment. Ed, do you want to make 5% of your non-emergency passenger vehicles electric?
Not right now.
Okay.
The costs for them are still up way too high for the support from the town administration.
Got it.
We go over this every year when we go to review my purchasing of vehicles.
Got it. And is it that we don't drive enough miles and use enough gas to make the electric part of
The
it?
replacement of the batteries on it right now are excessive in
Yeah.
cost.
Okay, got it.
$2,200.
Oh, you'd spend that much in gas. Well, I mean, 5.4.4 is a pretty easy item. Host at least one electric vehicle charging station for public use on municipal property.
Do we have an electric?
Do we have any
No.
others?
The train station?
Train is state property.
Right, the
electric vehicle?
Norotan Heights.
But is there?
It's going to be part of the new plan, but I don't know how that works out.
I mean, certainly not in the next 3 months,
No.
but,
Yeah.
Well, no.
I mean, like, within 12 months, like, we should have an electric charging station on a
like
municipal
the
piece of
town-
property.
at
Like,
the
at town hall, like, there's an electric
Right.
charging station at town
Right.
hall, right? So,
Well, one would assume if you're coming to do business or you're an employee, that would be I know that the town, it's a state, the parking lots that are state, the Norotan, but part of that recommendation included
yeah,
electric stations.
okay.
And I don't know when they put them on the highway properties too, like the,
Yeah,
At the gas
McDonald's.
station, yeah.
but does that count because it's
I
in
don't know.
Darien? Yeah, I
I don't
think,
know.
it says, this very clearly says on
On
municipal
municipal.
property.
Right, it does, yeah.
But, I certainly, I think that's a future target.
Yep.
Like, that's a really good put your toe in the water thing for the future of transportation.
Just back up, though. Do we know, I know the parking lot at the railroad estate property. Do we know if the gas stations are state property or are they leased from the town?
On
Might be
I-95?
Town property.
No, it's DOT property. They don't come to planning and zoning for approvals because it's DOT property.
But it might be on a 99-year lease.
It's DOT, I think I know it's DOT property.
You're talking about gas, you're talking about the.
Service stations on I-95.
Yeah.
It's DOT property.
Yeah. 5.5, promote public transit and other mobility strategies.
Next.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
you only have to get one in the category
Yeah.
to be certified, so.
We have to get one somewhere in 5.
That's correct.
But municipal transit vehicles are 3 words that don't fit next to one another nicely in Darien.
We don't have any.
Right.
Well, we have,
The buses that come through, what are those?
Do we
There's
count,
state-
do you count Gallivant, the senior bus?
services such as.
No, they
Skyline
don't.
and
They
senior vans
specifically
do not
don't.
count as shared mobility service.
Oh, yeah.
On the buses, like Christina?
Municipal buses.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, we could do stuff to promote, here's where the bus routes are, better signage, but hey, you can take the bus,
We're
but we're not
gonna
doing
get
that.
Between now and August.
I agree. Item 6, efficient physical infrastructure and operations, 6.1, benchmark and track energy use. This has all to do with the Energy Star program, and but we have to keep it current within the last 6 months. I've asked Ken to look at 6.1, and I've asked Ken to look at 6.2 to see if we can make a case. I mean, 6.1 would just be updating, making sure Energy Star is updated and getting that information out. So 6.1 we should be able to do, and we have the whole thing. 6.2 really is just going to be luck if we're able to do it from one year to the next.
10% reduction in energy.
That's a huge amount of energy.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the one thing that we learned after doing the audit and the assessment of all of the energy that we use in town for electricity, heating, and cooling, is that it's, has to do with whether or not you had a mild winter. So it's so much energy, and it's so hard to move the needle. Although there was one in here, Ed, that might come back to you. There's something, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. There's something that had to do with waste, energy use and waste management in sewage.
6.11,
Yeah, is that it?
wastewater treatment plant.
631.
I'm looking
Uh,
at
No,
6.11.
6.1.
Track energy use of wastewater treatment plants.
631 is achieve on energy efficiency.
Yeah, so we're going to look at 6.1 because we have, it's not a treatment plant, but we have all our pump stations linked to the Energy Star portfolio manager. So I'll have Ken look into that too.
Some communities have not done any of this. We are ahead of some, from what I could tell in
Good.
those stories.
I mean, 6.1 was, Terry will tell you, a pain in the patootie.
Right. And that's
Terry, I
what people
still
are
use
saying
it,
that are
though,
starting now.
So 6.3 is very interesting, and this is a question for Mike Lynch too, and you, Ed. I remember when we went through this 6.1 process, Mike and you were saying stuff like, and I remember Pat was saying, for instance, the town hall got a 93 on the Energy Star rating, but we just never went through the process to get the certification because it was a pain. And at one point, Natalie from Eversource was saying, oh, we'll go through that process for you and get it. I just don't remember where this all ended up. So it might be that some of these buildings have a score of 75 or better already.
Doesn't this building have it?
I thought that's what Pat
I'm pretty
Dorenzo
sure
said.
this one has it.
So between maybe Ed, you want to look at 6.3.1?
Current within 3 years.
Yeah, and then I'll email Mike Lynch on this too. This is 5 points per building, right? And so if we have 3 or 4 or 5 buildings that happen to have more than the 75, this is a lot of points.
10-minute bill.
Oh, thank you, sir. 6.4.1, purchase or install Class 1 clean energy sources to power municipal buildings. Have we done that, Ed?
I'm giving it my best shot right now.
So maybe you can actually get this information to NCON and say, give us the information we need to apply for these points. Because they're so good with paperwork and response.
No, that's okay.
Okay, that's not going to happen. But
Sorry, they just jumped ahead.
And again, as we get to compiling this, the resources at Sustainable CT
they can help potentially.
have had
So,
to help 22
I think
companies
the
do it.
first 6.3.1 is a category that we can get points. I think 6.4.1 is a category where we can get points because we've done it.
Absolutely.
I'm going to skip past 6.5. And 6.6. Although 6.6.1, inventory the existing fleet of cars. Do you have an inventory of your municipal fleet?
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah.
So we can do that.
So would you have the list for the, do all vehicles come under your purview?
No.
So we'd have to get it from each department, BOE, Parks and Rec also.
PD. Police department.
Oh, PD, they have a few too.
Fire department.
Yeah.
Fire department's not a municipal department, is it? They're
We
quasi
provide them
nonprofits.
money for
Yes,
for
but
their
they,
budgets.
but I don't think we own their vehicles.
Do you think it has to be the complete fleet of all of Darien?
The trucks?
Break it out.
It
by
says,
fleet?
it
I thought
says.
they were
Existing fleet.
quasi,
Total
like
quantity of
nonprofit
oil,
entities.
total quantity, so yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we got to drill down on that, but that's an opportunity. Okay, so Ed, this is you too, 6.7. Within the last 5 years, we've replaced our streetlights. Done. We just need to document 6.7.1.
Yeah, because it gets down to approve of streetlight replacement if the streetlights have been replaced in the last 5 years with or without a plan, credit will be given.
Yeah, that's 15 points.
Replaced with what?
Well, LEDs, I'm sure that's when you drill down,
Yeah.
that's what they mean.
Yeah.
With
Right.
install efficient streetlights is the category.
So those two lines we've done that.
Yes,
Right.
I have a big green line by that one.
Does
Yeah.
that mean your big green credit?
Well, we have to
We
document it.
hope.
So
Yeah.
that- Yes.
That will be the documentation
We could
of what has
get,
to
we
go
could
into the
potentially get
system.
20 points here for this one item.
Kathy, how many points do you need for bronze, Ted?
200 for
I think I did my
bronze.
heavy lifting.
Yes, yes. You're going to get, yeah, you're going to get like a quarter of these points between
Yeah.
the solar and the streetlights.
We will find that we are moving in the right direction
Yes.
due to the work of all of those of
8-minute
you in
bell.
this room.
What's that?
8-minute bell.
Thank you. So I'm going to move on, although I think we've done 6.8 too, because we went through 2 years where we had an energy campaign. And it's just about putting the documentation together for the energy campaign that we had. Do you want to look at 6.8?
Sure.
Kind of go through the old
Yep.
minutes and
Yep.
every time we wrote the paper and hosted an event with
Yep.
the library and kind of put that package together on 6.8 to how we ran our campaign within the last 3 years.
So that segues right into 7.1, that's the library event.
Yeah, that has to be within the last year.
So we need to find out if they're having another one in April.
That's true.
I'll ask when I'm over there.
That also depends, again, the library has hosted a number of
Right.
Yeah,
events.
the movies.
The movies,
Right.
the presentation that I gave,
Oh,
that
yeah.
was moved to the Nature
Yeah.
Center.
But also the Earth Day event
The
is a
Earth
big
Day
thing, yeah.
events.
Right.
You wanted to talk to the library. Do you want to just see if these are points for us? Or no?
Yeah, I want to kind of go, yes, now I know
'Cause
you
the
have
other-
somebody too,
who's
doesn't mean
our-
the two of us can't.
Primary contact at the library was
Sally.
Sally
Sally.
Imes. She sat on the committee for
A
2 or
long
3
time,
years.
yeah.
I'm going to be at the library this afternoon, so I'll.
Can introduce the subject.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Sally Imes,
IJAMS.
Yes, IJAMS. So she's a absolutely friendly and enthusiastic ear and knows exactly who we are.
Yeah.
All right, and is involved in the bee thing, and this will
Right.
just broaden that.
Yes, I'm sure she does.
Right.
So I'm gonna skip now to things that I think are targets. Rich, I don't know if you want to go back to Jeremy on item 7.3.1.
Yeah, I looked at that. It says send a member.
Yeah.
to Inland Wetland. They don't do, the DEP doesn't hold those trainings.
Yeah,
But
but-
they're online, would that count?
But it's also an equity training session.
I don't know.
So can you, I guess, again, go to the website, kind of look at what this is?
Specifically, it says send at least one commission member from your inland wetlands commission.
Yeah.
Which is my commission.
Yes.
And it's
Sorry.
to a training session.
Yes.
The training sessions are online.
They probably count though, right?
Yeah,
If they're
there's,
online.
Yeah.
so
I guess that would.
Sustainable CT is also running a host of events throughout the year.
Right, but I'm just getting at, this very specifically says that the inland
Yeah.
wetland person needs to go to the.
One from
training
inland
session.
wetlands, one from P and Z,
I
and
don't
two
know-
others.
I don't know what P and Z's training sessions.
Well, will you be
says.
willing to go back and talk to
Yeah,
Rich
I'll
and see if this is a category we think we could get points on?
Those are
And then the
sustainable,
other,
there are, but I believe that as you're looking at it, there, like, see, I went to a training session at CCM, that's the one I went up to in Norwich, there are.
right. But there is an inland wetlands training session by the DEP that they used to host, where you actually went to them. Now they're all online. So the way I read it is that an inland wetland member has to go to the inland wetland training session. All the others I can't speak to.
Right, but what I'm telling you is that Sustainable CT is hosting sessions that may not be in your, at the moment, and that I believe would count for these. So I will,
okay.
I will get you, I'll make sure I get to you.
I don't think they're hosting inland wetland sessions, but
They're
Okay.
hosting.
So big picture, Rich, you're going to look in this a little more detail, see if we qualify. Kathy, you might send Rich an email.
but I'd have to get a volunteer between now and August. That shouldn't be too hard.
Okay, good.
There is one, well, I mean, if they're online.
Lucille, go. So, item 7.5, I'm going to jump to. Ed, this may involve you and Darren, but Darren was kind enough to get me the reports we do to the DEP each year on our municipal solid waste. So, for instance, if we use 2015 as our baseline year at 3,445 tons of municipal solid waste, and we look at the latest year, it's 2,672 tons for 2018.
Give me those two numbers again, please.
Fiscal year 14-15 was 3,445 tons. Fiscal year 17-18 was 2,672 tons. So these are our official reports that go to the DEP, identifying more than, I think, if I do the math correctly in my head, a 20% reduction
Yeah.
in municipal solid waste. So we might be able to get 20 points under 7.5.2. And what we might want to do in the future, Ed, under 7.5.1, is make the annual data publicly available. Now, what do they mean by that?
2-minute bell.
So we got to look at that. Evidence that the data was publicly disseminated.
In the newspaper, a letter to
Website.
the editor,
Yeah,
something like that.
website,
A lot of stuff
Yeah,
is.
website.
A
website,
lot of the documentation
our
is
Facebook
links to
page.
website.
It would be possible, you tell me, if we had a sign driving into the recycling center that said, you know, waste is down 20%. This is our number for last year. Get people.
What about that electronic sign?
Those are nice, aren't they?
Yeah, couldn't we put that up for a while and just, do you know what I
If
mean?
this helps with the points, then
Yeah.
tell me what you want me to do.
Okay. So I think 7.5 is a
Those are easy. I mean, that's
phenomenal
easy.
target for us.
You can stand there and.
I
We'll
mean,
put you in a bananas.
by the way,
banana
everybody
peel
pat yourself on the
closet.
back, 20% reduction in municipal solid waste.
By the way,
Right.
since we're hard up against the timeline,
Yeah.
I said we suspend this for a moment and go
Yeah.
back to approval of the minutes, so we get that out of the way.
Oh, okay.
Carolyn's here.
Do I have a motion to approve the
Hold on,
minutes?
Carolyn,
Yeah.
as
Oh,
always.
yeah, no, so I think we should just take that one sentence out of there because,
One sentence.
so handling of cash presenter reporting issue, it actually doesn't because I have a book and every, dollar that I take in gets.
What do you want me to say?
Just take that one, you can have that, just take that one sentence out. Because it's not an issue.
Any objections to that?
I move we approve the minutes as modified by Carolyn.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
4 in favor, it's unanimous.
Okay.
Items 7.7 and 7.8, Carolyn, are yours.
Okay.
And you're going to dig into them?
Yep.
7.7 is recycle additional materials.
Yep.
So it's not just compost organics, it's the mattresses, it's the paint, it's the smoke
Right.
detectors. We can get points for all that stuff.
Great.
So we just go back in the minutes and figure out when those programs were instituted and what we
Okay.
did to institute them and what our education efforts, so it's documenting what we've done.
Did you skip over 7.6?
I did. So SMART is pay as you throw. So do you want to institute SMART in Darien, Ed?
I don't live here, sure. I'm not elected official either.
So I'm going to
I
bypass.
didn't know if that's what it meant,
Yeah, that is what it meant. I believe that's what it means. So I'm going to bypass SMART for
Okay.
now. And we're going to get our points under 7, more points under 7, under 7.7 and 7.8, and Carolyn's going to document that.
7.8.
Yeah, develop a food waste reduction campaign.
50 points right there. I would like to, this is an important point, and I think I'm going to nominate the food waste campaign for this 9.
For the equity
Optimize
analysis.
for equity. I'm
Okay.
trying to think of something that's current and recent that could go through that toolkit. So I'm wondering if Carolyn, I would sit with you at some point just to go read through 9.1 and see if we could apply it. What I was told was that you should choose the action you're going to put through 9.1 at the very beginning, because you can't go back and do it
Yeah.
after the fact. So if the 7.7 or 7.8 would work that way, that
Yeah, so the difficulty there and what you're going to find immediately, and this is worth a few minutes of conversation. The equity is, does everybody in your community from, all income categories have the ability to access this program?
it could be income, it could
Yeah.
be senior citizens,
Yeah,
it could be
yeah,
any
yes.
of, and it was mentioned even at the Fairfield meeting on Monday night, that some of our communities do not have large, diverse communities,
Yeah.
as Hartford might have. So
Yeah.
you work within your own population as reaching everybody.
Yep. And so one of the barriers to access all of the programs under 7.7 and 7.8 is your sticker to get into the recycling center. And do we offer
Well,
reduced rate?
hold on a second, because there's nobody in town that either does not have trash pickup or a sticker.
You don't know
So
that.
it's available to everybody.
You don't know that.
Ivory soap is only 99.44% pure.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, except for .06, has one or the other.
I have a question.
What do they do with their trash if they don't?
Well, they could be living in a location where the trash is kind of managed,
Apartment.
an
Managed.
apartment building.
Right, so therefore the trash is picked up by a hauler who goes to the dump. So
No, the trash doesn't go to the dump. The trash goes to Bridgeport.
Wherever they
or
take it.
Wherever they take it.
But the residents don't necessarily have access to our recycling center, they don't get a sticker. I mean, they could get a
could.
sticker, but
Yeah.
oftentimes they don't.
So my question is, before we, do we offer we do offer low-cost stickers to senior citizens?
seniors get
Free.
one free.
One free.
Free.
One
Yes.
free. So there we go. That's an
You're asking the wrong
interesting.
guy these
Yeah,
days.
Right.
yeah.
And do we also offer for the tax abatement
Yes.
folks? We do?
Yes.
Okay, well, this is a great analysis, so you guys can get together and talk about that.
And it may be that even that the kits that we're selling, you may want to sell them at the senior center, would be a way to
Yeah, yeah,
advise.
engage a certain-
a certain part of your population
Yeah.
that might not otherwise know.
So you guys will
about
talk
the
about
town hall.
that. So
that's-
you're on 9, and you're going to talk
I just
to
think it's a clean one to try. and
Carolyn
apply.
on 7.7 and 7.8. Sounds good.
Yeah, well, we'll
I'll go soak hands with you. I'll go soak hands with you.
yay, good.
So we've gotten a lot under 7, so I'm going to bypass the rest of 7, and I'm going to go to 8.
I really like to encourage smoke-free and tobacco-free.
Yeah, we'll get more points for that later. 8 is healthy, efficient, and diverse housing. And so this is, I think under 8.1, Rich, Jeremy's department can help us, because I'm assuming he has a very specific inventory,
I think he said he does,
yeah, of housing. And so,
including
so,
affordable.
yeah, we know exactly how much affordable housing we have, and we know over the last 3 years how much has been added.
So, that's Jeremy.
Do we work at
Jeremy
all?
Ginsburg, the director.
The group here, the Partnership for Strong Communities, they will assist if there's a need for gathering information. I know their data sets.
Because this relates to our moratoriums and being able to get more points for additional moratoriums, Jeremy knows the numbers.
Yes,
Got it.
We've gotten them approved. We know what's been added. We know when our next moratorium will come, when more are added. So we
Okay.
should have the data,
Yeah.
and it's just a matter of putting it together. Maybe it needs to appear on a Planning and Zoning Commission agenda one night.
Right, yes,
And-
and there's the appeals list
Yeah.
and all that stuff down.
So I think 8.1.1 is a very good target. I don't know that we've done 2 or 3. But certainly 1 is a very good target for points. Where's my green? Where's my green? 8.1. Growing sustainable and affordable housing options is also something I think we're doing. No.
Forget it.
No, yeah, I didn't leave that really, we have to be above the 10%. We're never going to get there. We are growing, though. Wait, hold on. No, so go to 8.2.2. Increase the municipalities' affordable housing as compared to a baseline within the past 5 years. So that will bear out in the same data that I'm getting from Jeremy, because we have increased, and you get 10 points for each quarter percentage point increase based on, that's the whole town. I think we can get points under 8.2 as well. Maybe. No, maybe not, because the Heights was more than 5 years ago. What else has been added?
We've
got Town Hall.
It's not more than 5 years ago.
4 years.
4 years?
Yeah.
Okay, so we might be able to get those points, and,
And but the problem is that's not the municipality's affordable housing, that's state housing.
well, I
got
read that
points
as
for it.
increased Darien's affordable housing, not as
Okay, I got you.
municipally
Within-
owned,
Yeah.
Okay.
but within the
Gotcha.
municipality.
Okay.
I think we can get points for that, then, if we can count the Heights. But I'll talk to Jeremy. I think 8.3 is not worth doing. So there we go, we've gotten through it. And innovation actions, do you think the bee pollinator thing, that it might be an innovation action?
It might very well be. if
'Cause I didn't
it
really
doesn't
see it
fall under
anywhere else.
watershed
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Farming and agricultural.
Didn't really, to me. I think it
I-
might be under innovator, which is good as extra points. Bees.
Points.
Extra points. Thank you very much. So let's talk about timelines and accountability, because we can't just wait a month to see how things are going, if we really want to make this draft deadline in 3 months.
All right, so I will make, my day today is crazy, my day tomorrow is crazy. By Friday, I will have a hit list of who's on first, what's on second, I don't know who's on third for everybody.
Okay.
That will identify who has been tagged.
Okay. So, but everybody here knows who's been tagged in terms of what we talked about
That you'll be expected
Yeah.
to submit something.
next week. You've reviewed it in more depth. You think these are achievable things, and here's what you're going to do to try to achieve them.
And that at least 10 days before our next meeting, give something in writing to Craig so that he
And Kathy.
can utilize it, well, specifically for you to utilize for
To hone
next
the
month's
agenda. To hone the
Okay.
agenda.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds
I
great,
mean, everybody
so
we should send it to everybody.
Yeah.
But you're going to be the focal point for setting the agenda
Certainly
for next
before
month.
the end of January.
So before the end of next week, you will do your initial homework.
Right.
And you'll get back to everybody with what you think the point possibilities are and who you're going to start talking to generate the points.
Correct.
Okay?
So I'll have that out to everybody no later than Friday.
Okay. Great. Yeah, because we then have to compile, from those answers, we're going to compile how many points we think we're actually going to get.
And in the meantime, a to-do that I need to take on is, did you set up an account? This is,
I don't know.
you just went in and used Sustainable CT.
Oh, yeah, we
Did
have
you
to adjourn.
register? Shall we adjourn? Or you want, in order to use.
I have my own person, yeah,
You have a Craig ID, I have
Yes.
a Kathy ID.
Yes.
Jamie had to register, but we need to have, I will find out how we get the municipal portal so that everybody.
as we
because-
add, we can,
Because all of us can either be an owner or a user and
Okay.
be able to submit to it.
so you'll advise us.
I tried to figure that out yesterday, and I couldn't. It doesn't look like we are set up yet.
Motion to adjourn? First, second, all those in favor? We are adjourned, Channel 79, thank you very much.